So today we are going to be spilling some real hot piping tea. Well, it's probably not that hot actually, like I'm not going to be spilling too much tea because I want to keep my job. But today's video is going to be the truth about the PR/influencer world. You guys were asking a lot of questions about this actually on my Instagram and just over DM, so I thought I would answer the questions for you in a video. So let's get into it. So to give a bit of a synopsis for this video, I am currently working as an influencer. That is my full-time job. But before I started doing this full-time in September last year, so 2019, I worked in PR, and I've worked in a few different kind of PR agencies. I've worked in lifestyle, kind of like consumer PR. I've always worked in consumer PR actually. So I worked for like a lifestyle brand doing things from like fashion, clothing, travel. Then I moved into beauty PR, which was kind of like skincare products, makeup, hair stuff. And then I moved into doing, oh, I've got hair in my mouth. I moved into doing PR for one of the leading animal charities and like environmental charities in the world, which was a big jump actually, but it was something that was really good. So I've worked in various different sections of PR, so I feel like I do kind of like understand PR on a certain level because I've obviously worked in like the influencing side and this side. So I thought it'd be good to kind of talk about it in this video. Obviously I am by no means an expert. I literally was quite junior level when I worked in PR because I'm only 22 now, so I just kind of like started my career off there, and then I moved to influencing because that was just something that I was more passionate about at the time. So you guys asked lots of questions about both different like sides of it, and I thought I would answer them. So just to give you an idea of what like PR is, because I'm probably not going to explain this very well. So PR, public relations, is the practice of deliberately managing the release and spread of information between an individual or an organisation, such as a business, government agency or non-profit organisation, and the public. So it's basically the middleman between the client, the brand that wants to get coverage, that wants to be spoken about, that wants people to know. We're the middle people that kind of make it happen. We know the journalists, we know the influencers, we know I don't really know who else we would know, and then we like give it to them. They decide whether they want to go ahead with it, because PR is mainly kind of like free, for lack of a better word. Like a lot of PR is to try and get free coverage, depending, it's kind of like earned actually in a way. Like if a journalist loves the product or if an influencer loves the product, they're going to talk about it. So that's kind of what public relations is, and then that information gets given to the public. So that's kind of how it works. So it's basically like a middleman. It can be very stressful, but it can also be very rewarding. So that leads me on to my first question, which is the best and worst PR experience. Oh my gosh, okay, so one thing about PR, it's not the most easy job in the world. Like there is a lot of stress and there is a lot of time frames, but I think my best experience has been being able to like manage campaigns, obviously when I worked in the office, and being able to work with some amazing influencers and some amazing celebrities. And I think like managing that from beginning to end, like starting off writing the contract, writing the brief, then getting the people in, getting them to do the content, and like I just think that whole thing, it's just something, it's so much work goes into it, and it becomes like such a passion project that I think that's like the best thing about PR. Like I just think that's so rewarding. And then my worst PR experience, I mean, I've been told this throughout my whole life, I overtalk. Well, not overtalk, I just talk too much. I'm very chatty, especially when it comes to being in the office, or like when I was in school, I used to talk a lot in the classroom. So me being so chatty, my old PR directors, actually in both my agencies, used to say that I talk too much, so I'd have to get moved away from my fave colleagues. So yeah, and then I think this one time we were actually banned from going to lunch together, which actually, thinking back to it, is just ridiculous. But yeah, and then there was this other time when I worked at this agency like kind of near London. There was like a really bad I don't know, like thunderstorm, and the whole kitchen collapsed when we were literally just like in the office, and we just had this bang and the whole kitchen was leaking. So we didn't really have a kitchen for like 2 months, so that was probably quite bad, because actually I then had to buy all my food out and it became very expensive. So yeah, that's probably my worst thing. And like whenever I used to get told off, like I did used to get told off a lot. Probably wasn't a very good PR, let's be honest. Okay, so the next question is, how do you get recognised? And I think that's to do with more like the influencer side. I think when it comes to like being recognised, it's really difficult now, I think, with the Instagram algorithm and like the YouTube algorithms. But I think the best thing to do is to kind of buy products from brands that take like similar, or they post similar content to like what you want to do. And the best place to get recognised is obviously to be on like a bigger brand's page, or to feature on like a larger influencer's page. And obviously just like being yourself, like your niche is you. There's lots of people that like have very similar profiles, and don't ever let that distract you, being like, oh, there's so many people doing it. Like, you can do it because you are your own niche, and like if you just kind of stay true to yourself, you will like find your way. But yes, so I actually originally got recognised by Boohoo. That was like the first big brand that I ever worked with, and I was like on their student ambassador scheme, and they just quite liked my pictures. So you don't have to be a big influencer to get recognised. If a brand really likes your stuff from the get-go, like, you're gonna fly. So yeah, literally, if you're starting out, just keep going, be yourself, and make sure you post quite regularly on stories. I find that like posting regularly on stories really helps people with like their growth, because you can see their personality. Okay, how do I get into marketing as a job? I've done my own social media and I do admin at the moment. So I think something that kind of gets maybe confused a little bit is marketing and PR. They are quite similar, but I have friends who work like more in the marketing side, like kind of like Google AdSense, not AdSense, is it AdSense? Like Google like search optimization kind of stuff. That's quite a lot of marketing. But in terms of getting into like PR as a job, I would say that the main thing is just to be really friendly and really chatty, because that is kind of the job of a PR. Like, you have to be quite confident, because you're meeting journalists, you're meeting influencers quite a lot, you're planning events. So I think that'd be the main thing. And you don't need to have a huge amount of experience like to get into it to begin with. Like, I literally was just out of uni. I did a fashion degree, but like that didn't really teach me a huge amount about PR. I was just really chatty in the interviews, and to be honest, like if you know enough about the clients and you're passionate about what the agency does, then you're gonna fly, basically. So it's quite easy to get into it, especially like if you're wanting to go in on like a junior account exec level, or going in as like one of the assistants is quite easy. So the next question is best places to find PR jobs. So I find that jobs like kind of in the fashion and beauty sector, I go on websites like Fashion Worky, Diary Directory. There's this website called The Dots as well. I think that has quite a lot of jobs on there. Other than that, just have a look on LinkedIn and on, what's it called, Indeed, on there as well. I think in PR, agencies are quite good at like spreading when there's a job application. So if you just Google it and you know the kind of like agency you want to work for, then you'll be fine. Okay, how I got my first job in PR. So I was in my second year of uni. We had to do like an internship. And I basically left it to the last minute. I think it was 2 weeks before we had to have an internship secured, and I was like, oh my god, I have just been lazy and I haven't done it. So I just like emailed quite a few PR agencies and just said, look, are you looking for an intern? And the first one that got back to me, I went for an interview for, and they gave me the job. I think it was like a few days later, and then I started maybe 3 weeks after that, and that's kind of how I got into it. And then I was completely unpaid when I was an intern. Like, they used to just pay for my lunch and my travel, which is fine. I think now you have to pay interns if they've been there for longer than 3 weeks, so that's good. And then they asked me back in the summer for like a paid job. It wasn't paid, it wasn't very well paid, but it was quite good because then I got like an actual job in it. So when I came out of uni, I found that it was easier for me to find something because I kind of had that bit under my belt. So if you do have any time to do like an internship, even if it's just for the 3 weeks, like it would really help you out. And you get loads of free samples. Like if you work in fashion or beauty, like you get loads of free samples, and that's the best thing. Okay, the next question is, how did you know it was right to take the leap and go full-time influencing? So it took me a long time. I feel like I have explained this before, maybe on Instagram. I was really scared to do it. I probably could have done it maybe a year before I actually did. But I think obviously when you've been in a full-time role and you've got like regular pay coming in, obviously when you go to work by yourself, being self-employed, like the work isn't always going to be guaranteed. So I think that was something that really scared me for ages. But I think when I was kind of earning maybe like a few £100s more than my actual paid office job, I realised, oh, actually maybe I could do my influencing full time. So that's when I realised, and it took me about 2.5 to 3 years to realise that. So it took quite a while, but you can definitely do it sooner. Someone else has asked, how do you work your way up in a PR agency? So I found, especially in the kind of PR that I worked in, lots of people move around very quickly. Like, I don't really know many PRs that have actually stayed somewhere longer than maybe a year or two. It's just a very ever-changing, like, career. I think lots of people kind of almost get bored of the clients, so they want to like move over to new things. And most of the time when you're in PR, you move up to like the next level. So say the level's not available in your company, you'll move up to the next level in another agency. But the best way to kind of work your way up is your contacts. So your contacts are your value in PR. I know lots of girls who have got a huge amount of contacts, and they have got very large salaries because they just know so many people. So I think the more contacts you get, the more you're going out and meeting with like journalists and influencers, and that's the way you can move your way up, because you can go, actually, this is the value that I have, this is the value that I have in this agency, like I deserve the pay rise, or I deserve the, like, I don't know, the title upgrade or something with your job. So yeah, I think that's definitely something. And also, like, the more that you kind of do in the agency, so perhaps you decide to manage a project or you decide to manage a client, like that will obviously like boost you up in the agency. Okay, and the last thing is, don't do what I did. Don't just chat to people all the time, because then your management are going to be like, is she actually doing any work? So don't do what I did. So next question, working hours, is the pay good for a PR agency? So I'm not gonna lie, in fashion and beauty PR, it's not very well paid, like at the beginning. Obviously, like I said, I did an unpaid internship, and like my entry level roles were not very well paid. But I think because of the experience that you get, and obviously like you get the perks of meeting with like influencers and journalists, so you get like free lunches from your company and like samples and that, so that kind of helps a little bit. But it's not very well paid until you probably hit like manager or director level, then your pay like suddenly shoots up. So if you're working in PR now and you're thinking, oh my god, this is just crazy, like I'm poor, because that's what I thought, just keep going, because honestly, as soon as you hit like that kind of higher role, the pay jump is really big. I don't know whether I should be saying this in a video, but it is what it is. Okay, so the working hours do kind of vary, especially if you've got an event day. Like, I remember I woke up and I think I had to be somewhere in London at 5 AM, and my boss at the time, he didn't want us to, he basically didn't want us to like have an early finish, even though we've been awake and working since 5 AM. So I did a 5 AM to 6 PM shift, which was fun. So yeah, days like that are quite long, but I think as a whole it's kind of like your standard 8 hours a day. So I think one of my agencies was I think one of my agencies was like 9 till 6, and then the next one was 9:30 to 5:30. So they're not that bad, but I think when it comes to like the Christmas crunch, so kind of like in October, November, early December time, you will find that you are doing a huge amount of hours in the office, just because like it's just your busiest time of year. But most places are quite nice, they'll kind of give you your working hours back. So yeah, there are long hours, but I think that's the same with any job. If you're put under pressure, if you're put in like a big project, then you'll probably have to stay a little bit longer, which is a bit crap, but I guess it is what it is. The next person has said, I want to work in the marketing field. The only thing that concerns me is the money. So I guess I already answered that. Like, I think you've just kind of got to keep going. Like, the money will be there, and your value is the people that you know. Always remember that. Like, if a job role has said it's a specific salary, it normally can be negotiated. So if you tell them your value, they will hopefully understand that. Next question, can you do a day in the life like Freddie or Josie's vid? Yes, I can do a day in the life if you'd like. I mean, my life is quite boring at the moment because we're still kind of half in lockdown, so I'm still at home most of the time, but yeah, maybe I'll film like a day in the life sometime in the summer when things kind of get back to normal, because yeah, I feel like that'd be quite fun. Okay, so someone else has asked, did you enjoy working in PR and would you recommend it? So I personally did really enjoy working in PR. There were moments where it was a little bit crap, I'm not gonna lie. But as a whole, like, it was okay. I think in terms of recommending it, I would recommend it if you do have a thick skin. PR is one of those like places, the PR world, the influencing world, where you have to be able to deal with really intense criticism. You have to be able to deal with, like, especially with influencing, like people kind of saying whatever they want about you, or working in PR, like your directors will not hold back, because at the end of the day, like, it's their client. If they own the business, then they obviously want what's best for the business, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think you've got to have a thick skin, but it's also one of those very rewarding things where, like, it's just great when you pitch something and then you're flicking through like a magazine and you're like, oh, that's the product that I emailed them about. It's just very rewarding like that. But yeah, I would recommend it if, like, you can deal with kind of just a fair amount of criticism. Okay, my phone died, so we're on the iPad now. So the next question someone has asked is, how many years have you been on Instagram? So I started my Instagram obviously like as a personal Instagram maybe in 2013, maybe? Yeah, I think it was actually 2013. But like doing it properly has been about three and a half kind of years. So someone has asked the best ways to succeed as an influencer. So I think the most important thing is to be trustworthy. Your followers, obviously, they follow you for a reason, and just always be honest when you have an opinion on something and it's like a decent opinion. Make sure you always like chat about it, because I think it's one of those things where your followers want to know you. So try and get your personality out as much as possible. I know I was saying that earlier. And I would also like diverse your platforms. So like, don't just have a platform on Instagram, have a platform on like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Even if like those other platforms aren't as big, like for me personally, my Instagram's definitely my biggest platform by a lot. But yeah, just try and like put your fingers in all the social media pies so that people can find you anywhere, because I've had people find me on YouTube that have then gone to follow me on Instagram, and like vice versa. So yeah, I say those are like the best ways to succeed. And like wear things that you would actually wear. Don't just wear things because it's like a trend, because you want to be original, you want to be yourself and all that jazz. Someone has asked, what are the daily tasks of a PR? So when I worked in PR, I used to get in, I used to check my emails, see if anyone had emailed during the morning, and I'd probably do that until from like 9 until 11ish. I'd just kind of go through my emails, chit chat to people, and then you would create pitches. So say your client, your brand has launched a new product, you will get some information from them, and your job is to basically like create a press release, create like a page that's great for like influencers and journalists to kind of get information from. So it just kind of makes it a little bit more simple for people to understand, because sometimes clients can send you over things that are quite complicated, and you have to kind of like just make it a bit more readable and a bit more understandable for people. So that was probably a big part of my day. And then probably for like a big chunk of the afternoon, I would be packaging up products. So I think we used to like nominate a person to do it kind of each different day of the week. And then when I worked as like an administrative assistant, that was like my job. I was the post girl, and I loved it. Like, I love packaging up things. I like wrapping them up in the tissue paper, making them all cute. So yeah, that'd be a big part of my day, just kind of making sure everything looks nice, and then taking my post sack down to the post office. And yeah, so that is kind of like the main task of a PR. Other things would include like ringing up journalists, chasing coverage. Say if someone has said, oh, it's going to be featured in this issue of a magazine, and perhaps if it wasn't, you'll just chase and be like, oh, just wanted to ask, like, did you want any further info on it, blah 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 blah. I think PR is one of those things that you just kind of had to keep on top of it, because it's not guaranteed content. It's always good to just kind of check in and be like, hello, remember me, do you still like the product, do you still want to talk about it? So yeah, that's kind of like the main task of the PR. And also just like meetings. So when I worked on like the influencer side in the agency, a lot of my day would be kind of like meeting different influencers, meeting their managers, and that was also really fun, because you get to get out of the office, and like I feel like when you work in PR, or when you work in any kind of office, as soon as you can leave for a few hours, you're like, I'm a free elf, as Dobby would say. Yeah, so that's kind of like the main stuff. someone has asked, when did you start earning money as an influencer? I've seen so many answers and it's interesting. So especially in influencing, like money doesn't come in like that. I know it does with probably some people that just their channels just like erupt straight away, which is amazing, and I would love for mine to do that, but I don't know if it's going to do that anytime soon. So I think it's kind of one of those things where it just comes in very slowly. So I started earning money maybe from like a year into it, but that was a very small amount, and I think just as my page has grown, so has my confidence in terms of like pitching to brands as myself, like as Beckie Hart the influencer. So yeah, I think it's kind of, it is literally just like a gradual slope that goes up like that, and then sometimes it goes down, like things like coronavirus happen and then it just goes like, but suddenly it's just like kind of crawling back up. So yeah, it's one of those things where like the money is just not guaranteed because you are self-employed, but if it's something that you love and it's something you're passionate about, you do not do it because of the money. And yeah, I don't really do it because of the money, I do it because I love it, and I didn't start it because of the money, I didn't start it because I knew I was going to get paid. Like literally when I think I got my first campaign, I was like, why do you want to pay me? This is so strange. So yeah. Okay, lots of these questions are quite similar, so I'm gonna end with this one here, and it's how did you get into PR with a fashion degree? So I think I'd always had like a massive interest in fashion and like beauty and all of that kind of stuff, so I think it kind of helped obviously in my interviews and that when I first started interviewing for my internship when I was at uni. But you don't need to have like a degree in fashion and beauty to go into like a fashion or beauty agency. I know people that did degrees in I think I know this girl, she did like a language degree or something like that. So you don't have to do like a fashion degree to get into the kind of work that you want to do. So all I did, I think I just spoke with one of my lecturers and she told me about some websites to look on, like the ones I was talking about earlier, and she just said look on here for jobs, and that's what I did, and that's how I got into it. As long as you know your shit about the company, so just do a bit of research like a couple of days before, then I think you'll be fine. So yeah, you don't need to have a fashion degree, but it does, I guess it did kind of help in a way because I knew a little bit about the industry, but also if you read like fashion magazines and you just live and breathe fashion, you're going to be completely fine. Okay, so that is all the questions done. I really hope that I made sense in this video because I know that I warbled on a lot and probably said the same thing a million times, but anyway, I hope it was kind of insightful for you guys. I'm happy to do a dedicated video on just my job as an influencer if you guys want to know more questions, but I thought for this one I would put them both together because it makes it a little bit easier. And yeah, hopefully I've kind of given you an honest video on the PR world and the influencer world. Like it's not all happy sunshines and roses, but it is such a rewarding job. You meet the most incredible people in it. Some of my closest friends I've actually met doing my jobs as a PR, so honestly, like in terms of the communication parts of the role, it is just wonderful, and like I said, it's just a very rewarding career to go into. So yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. If you did like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.